What's happening, everybody? Boy Big Brandoh, and welcome to another episode of Bullshit with Brandoh. Now, if you watched or listened to the last couple episodes or shows that we did, you'll understand where the story's at, how my story began, how I got into screen printing, how I ended up making t-shirts, all of that. If you haven't, go back and listen or watch to episode 1 and 2 so you could be all caught up to where we're at today. Now, just a small little recap. When I started making t-shirts, what I did was I was looking at production standpoint, not really thinking about running my own brand, and I was just trying to make t-shirts and see if they would sell. Like I said, under no brand was I doing anything. It was just kind of making designs, making the t-shirts, seeing if people wanted to buy them, and then I was trying to sell my services to other people, but nobody really wanted to make t-shirts, or nobody wanted a lot of t-shirts made at the time. So I was at a standstill until I went to a festival and I found out that some of my ideas were better off targeted to a certain audience, and I made some decent money doing so. That's what sparked the idea to start my own brand. So what I started doing was brainstorming brand names. I always thought that the brand name was, the end all be all for the brand. This is something that I needed to do. I needed to have the best brand name. It had to be meaningful to myself, to the end user, and I just wanted to pretty much get my brand name on everybody across the world. That was the ultimate goal when I started doing this. So I thought long and hard. I came up with a bunch of different ones. I was spitballing, and I was just kind of brainstorming a little too hard. I put too much thought into it, so I started to scale back a little bit. And the brand name that I ended up going with was my nickname at the time, which was Nonstop. If you know me, if you know who I am, and if you know anything about me, that used to be my pretty much nickname around the neighborhood, was Nonstop. That was given to me by one of my older homeboys who seen every time I would hustle and I was making money, they would always say like, "Oh man, this kid hustles nonstop." That was where it came from. And I'm talking about selling everything from like iRock rims to lowrider bicycles to doing my thing in the street, just making money any way I can from a young age. My older homeboys would always be like, "Oh man, that dude hustles nonstop. That kid hustles nonstop." And it just ended up sticking. So fast forward, the year's probably like 2003, 2004, around this time. I'm out of high school. I'm working at like shoe stores in the mall, stuff like that. I'm not really doing too much, but I'm still hustling, doing my thing on the side, making some money. Also, the name Nonstop rolled into making music. So I was rapping, I was ghostwriting for a lot of people. So I'm kind of doing my thing on that side of the house too. And then I'm also trying to make these t-shirts and create this brand. So grand scheme of things, I said, oh, let me just name the brand Nonstop Clothing. Now, with that brand name came a lot of flack and a lot of other shit, but I didn't even care about all that. All I was thinking about was making t-shirts, making cool designs, and pretty much making money off this, right? So I'm making decent money ghostwriting. I'm doing the battle scene a little bit. I'm putting music out. Around this time, mixtapes weren't what mixtapes began to be. Mixtapes were rapping over a lot of commercial beats. And what me and my homeboys were doing were we were getting original produced beats and then pretty much we're recording, putting them on CDs, and then passing them out. So it was like doing an album, but we're treating it like a mixtape, because at this time 50 Cent was, killing the actual mixtape game where he was rapping over a lot of commercial beats and stuff like that. So me and a lot of my homeboys were doing the same thing, but instead of using commercial beats, we're getting actual produced beats by up and coming producers and stuff. And we're pretty much putting out albums. We're doing shows and, obviously printing a lot of merch. So we're doing shirts with, our rap names on them, or the crew, or whatever it was. And it was cool for the time. You know what I mean? So in the meantime, I'm trying to create this brand, and I'm like, all right, Nonstop Clothing, that's what it's going to be. In my head, I was like, it's going to be cool for the world to wear my t-shirt that says Nonstop. It's going to promote myself as a rapper, as a brand owner, thinking I'm like a Jay-Z or Puff Daddy or something like that. So I was like, oh, everybody's going to be wearing my shirt with my name, and boom, I'm going to be an instant millionaire. that's really not the case, right? Because what I didn't understand when I was creating this brand was I needed a lane to be in. I was all over the place, meaning like I was making shirts. I was making the Island Made Cali Ray shirts. That was part of the brand. I was doing stuff geared towards sneakers because I'm heavy into sneakers at this time, going from working at Lady Foot Locker when I was in high school, all the way up until like I was working at this other shoe store that sold like Timberlands and shit like that. So I'm heavy into the sneaker thing, and I'm making t-shirts around sneakers. Obviously graffiti background, so I'm making stuff with like ill ass lettering and just crazy graffiti themed t-shirts. And I fell into the trap of making shirts that had something to do with hustling, right? Like making money, just hustler themed t-shirts, which is kind of corny now, you know what I mean? But at the same time, in my head, I was like, oh man, the hustlers on the block's really gonna like this shirt. That was my mentality. But under the brand name Nonstop, which was a nickname for myself that everybody knew me as. And then I have all these different t-shirts and all these different designs. It was hard for me to really sell them and get them out. So I had the stuff at the house. Like, you know what I mean? I was screen printing from the house. I'm burning screens. I'm doing everything at the house. So I'm printing shirts, and I'm talking about, I was doing like 300 plus of each design. So I'd be like, all right, I'm going to do this navy blue t-shirt with this hustler logo on it or hustler design. And I'm going to do like 300 plus, 320, somewhere around there. And I was buying from size small up to like 4X. Because you got to remember, at this time, people are still wearing their shit baggy. Like the skinny jean thing didn't hit yet. So everybody's still wearing their shit big. And I'm kind of in this weird state where it's like I have to cater to everybody. So I want size small all the way up to 4X, 5X, or whatever it was. And I'm doing like 2-3 dozen of each size, and I'm like, all right, navy blue for this one, white ink. Let me bang out this hustler shirt. So in that same hustler design, maybe a week later, nobody's buying the navy blue one. I'm like, maybe I should have did it in black. In my head, let me buy 300 more black t-shirts and put that same design. Not knowing the design's not selling because it's the design. I'm thinking it's the color. So I change it up, and then now I do black. So I do this for every design I make. Like there was no testing out phase. There was no nothing. What I was doing wrong was I was showing my friends and family, hey, check out this design. They're like, oh, that's cool. I want it. I'll buy it, blah, blah, blah. Gassing me up thinking, oh, shit, the world needs this. So I make 300 of them, and then nobody's buying them. You know, friends and family are hyped on them. But that's because they were just supporting me because they supported me. Like, that's what friends and family do, is they support you. Whether it's good or not, they're still going to support you. And they're doing their job as, you know, friends and family, showing support, which is cool. So I always tell people, don't let your friends and family gas you up. You know what I mean? Because it could go to your head real quick. And obviously it did to me. So back 2004, I'm banging out shirts. I'm like boxes and boxes of shirts in the garage. I'm talking a shitload. I'm not selling none. I'm making new designs and I'm printing them out, and it's all under the brand name Nonstop. And I'm like, yeah, this is it. Outside of doing that, I fell into the weird stage of logo tees. Like, you guys hear me talk this shit all the time about it's hard to sell your logo t-shirt to anybody because it means nothing to nobody. That right there is, this is how I found out nobody's gonna fuck with your logo tee. Was I did every single color I could think of. Red, because I'm thinking like, oh, the Bloods and the Pyrus gonna need this. They're gonna need this Nonstop t-shirt. Doing blue, navy blue, royal blue, these different blues. I'm like, oh, the Crips are gonna need this. In my head, this is what I'm thinking, right? So I'm doing everything black, green for my neighborhood. Like, everything that I'm doing is geared towards my surrounding areas and the streets that I know. I need to make this shirt in this color for this certain group. I need to make this shirt for this group. This is my logo tee. It says Nonstop, and obviously everybody knows me by that name. So I'm just making t-shirts with my name on it, and I'm like, oh yeah, everybody's gonna need it. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shirts I'm making because I'm screen printing from home. And I'm like mass producing the shit because I'm thinking, oh yeah, everybody's gonna want this. Oh yeah, everybody needs this. Not the case. Absolutely not the case. When I tell you guys it's hard to sell a logo t-shirt, I'm telling you the dead honest truth. People think I'm talking shit because I think my designs are better than somebody else's. Not the case. What I'm talking about is you making a t-shirt with your brand name logo on that t-shirt. The hard sell to a customer is getting somebody to wrap their head around what that brand name means. And for myself, it was Nonstop. Everybody knew me as Nonstop, so they just think I'm selling them a t-shirt with my name on it. That's a hard sell in itself. Like, why is somebody else gonna wear the fucking shit with my name on it, right? I wasn't thinking of that. I was just thinking they're gonna need this shirt. It's my brand. It's gonna be the new shit. I'm gonna be the fucking new cool person out here. So let me just sell this brand or this logo t-shirt to everybody. And it didn't register with me because I would see people wear Rockaware, Sean John, all these different brands, and it's just the brand name on the t-shirt. If you remember Sean John, he had the regular script logo, and that was on a t-shirt. $35, people buying it up. So I'm like, oh shit, if he could do that, I could do that. So I'm doing Nonstop and all these different lettering and characters and all this shit. I remember my coolest one was like this rectangle logo, and it just said STOP, and on the top it said non in script, and inside the box it had like these bold letters. I thought the shit was ill. I made a bunch of those and nobody bought them. I couldn't even give the shits away. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to push all these logo tees. It's not working. I'm still making the Island Made Cali Raised ones, and I'm making that because I sold a lot of those, but it was under the brand name, and then now people are confused, like, is your clothes just made for Islanders, or is your clothes made for, people in the sneaker, people that were into sneakers? Because at this time, really loud shoes were in, like Air Force Ones were in, SB Dunks were in, what else was out there? Bape was doing the Bapeses that look like Air Force Ones, all patent leather. Jordans were still around, so it was all these wild colors, and myself thinking I knew what was going on. I'm making shirts that say Nonstop or Island Made Cali Raised, or just all these crazy different designs to match sneakers. So you got like Kelly green t-shirts with white print to match certain shoes. I'm doing like brown and tans. I'm all over the place. Like, let me tell you, I'm all over the place. I had shirts stacked up everywhere, and in my head, I just thought, like, I need to offer all of this shit. Like, I need to have 300 shirts on hand because they're going to be flying off the shelf. This is what I thought. Like, nobody ever coached me or told me that's not how the shit works, or it's going to be a lot harder to sell all this shit. I'm just producing the shirt and going out and trying to sell the shit. That's all I was doing. So if I was performing somewhere, I'm making shirts so I could wear on stage, and I'm thinking like, man, let me bring a trunk load of shirts because once I get off stage, everybody's going to want to buy my shirts. Not the case. I do that. Nobody buys not one thing. There's nobody there that's like, oh man, let me buy this shirt off you. It wasn't working. You know what I mean? And for myself, I could not sell my logo tee for nothing, and I could not sell any of my other designs for nothing. Like the Island Made Cali Raised that I sold at that festival only worked at that festival. It didn't work, the rest of the year. Nobody was coming to me like, hey, let me get this. You know what I mean? And at the time, MySpace is going off, so I'm promoting on MySpace, but I don't know how to work social media yet, so I'm just trying to be too cool for anything, you know what I mean? And one of my big homeboys, rest in peace, Eric Hirikani, he started this brand back in like 98 called 110 South Streetwear. And what I seen him do with 110 South Streetwear was unfucking real. Like he got product placement to everybody, like DJ Quick, Ice Cube, Mossberg at the time, rest in peace to Mossberg. All of these people were wearing and fucking with 110 South. And I was like, man, he did the shit, right? So he was the only person that I knew of that had a successful brand and was doing it. But I never looked for the guidance. I never looked for any of that shit. It was just like, I knew of him, I knew what he was doing, and I was just trying to make my own way and get shit going too. Where I really fucked up was all of the shirts that I was spending money on that I wasn't getting no money in return back, which was bad business to begin with, was now I have an overabundance of t-shirts in my work area, and it's surrounding the walls, and it's just making my work area smaller and smaller and smaller. So now I got boxes of t-shirts that I can't sell, random ass colors that are all printed on already, and I cannot get rid of them. I didn't learn shit from when I was doing this with Mr. Park. I didn't learn nothing from there because I just thought, I'm the one making them now. I'm going to sell this shit. And I was just jaded. Like, my whole brain was clouded with, I'm going to be the next big thing. I'm going to be a fucking millionaire. Let me get all these shirts out. For myself, it didn't work that way. It just wasn't. It was harder than I thought. But since I had all the production shit and not a lot of people were printing shirts back then, I thought I had the upper hand. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to be making a gang of money on these people. They're going to buy my shirts and I'm going to be world famous. That's all I kept thinking. I was thinking of seeing music videos with my shirt in the background or the rapper wearing my shirt, and it was just going to be live. Like, I'm going to be living. And that's not how the shit played out. That's not the way that it was designed to be, because myself personally, every time I made a shirt, my homeboys weren't knocking my door down to get that shirt. So that should have been, a fucking eye-opener right there, that that's not the design that's going to work out, because there was no testing phase. There was no focus group. There was no nothing. I wasn't testing nothing. I was creating it, thinking in my head that the shit's dope, and putting it out. And I was doing this all the fucking time, man. And I wasted so much money doing this. I wasted money on screens. I wasted money on emotion and ink. I wasted a ton of labor. And then on top of that, I was wasting my space that I had to store shirts, because I would get 3 boxes of shirts. I would print on all 3 boxes of them, and then I just stack them up. Not selling them. Like, I'm telling people that, hey, come to my house, you could buy shirts. And they're like, I don't like that shirt. Like, why the fuck I'm going to buy that shit? My printing technique is down. I'm printing white ink on colored shirts, and I'm killing. But the designs weren't it. The people I was marketing to wasn't it. And I just could not find the groove that everybody else, thinking I'm like Jay-Z and Puff Daddy and all these dudes running these big brands. I was just like, fuck, like, how are they doing this shit off of their logo tees, but it's not working for myself? I didn't understand marketing. I didn't understand nothing at this time. My marketing was wearing the shirt and telling people about the shirt. That's all it was. If I would have known now if I knew back then what I know now about social media and all this shit, I could have been killing MySpace. I could have been fucking with influencers early on. But in my head, I was like, man, I wasn't even thinking of that. I wasn't thinking of popular pages. I wasn't thinking of my shirt being on somebody's, top 8 or whatever the MySpace shit was. And at that time, there were so many MySpace, like, rappers and entertainers and stuff like that using MySpace for it. But I'm not from that generation. Like, I didn't understand how all of that worked, because at the time, I'm pretty much older than a lot of the people that were using MySpace at the time. I mean, I'm still kind of in that demographic, but still, I wasn't really on it to be on it. You know what I mean? And it was a big hit for myself. I'll say that, because at that time, eBay's cracking off, and that's how, like, a lot of people were buying shoes. Me and my homeboys were still going out to the stores to find shoes and shit like that, to find the hard to find shit. But I didn't understand that the internet's going to be what it is today. You know what I mean? So for myself, it was just doing this shit. I thought I was cool. I had the fucking 2-way, and I felt like I was doing it, but I really wasn't doing nothing. You know what I mean? I looked the part, and I could talk the part, like production. I could talk screen printing with anybody. I could say I ran my own brand and I own my own company. But that's all it was. I didn't have nothing to show for it. The money I was showing for it was the money I was hustling. Like, I was getting money, but not because of t-shirts. You know what I mean? So I'm going to take a little break right here so we can run the sponsored ad. And then right after that, I'll get back into the rest of this shit. But I appreciate you guys for watching. So here's an actual sponsored ad. You know what I mean? Yo, today's episode is brought to you by the good people over at Ends Print Co. My homeboy Jason Ends was kind enough to sponsor this podcast episode and bring to you guys some of the dopest, cleanest, most affordable plastisol heat transfers on the market today. And when I say dope ass quality, you could check out the video that I did on his transfers. but he has elevated his formula to be the softest, cleanest prints around. So if you're looking for Plastisol transfers, make sure you hit up the homie Jason Enns at ensprintco.com. Now, back to the episode. Yeah, and we're back. So, my brand was Nonstop Clothing, not doing good. My logo tees, not doing good. All of my bright idea designs, not doing good. Fucking garage full of t-shirts that I cannot sell. Really bad look for business. Really bad thing, right? So first thing I do is like, fuck it, man. I'm going to start giving these blank t-shirts to the homeless. Because I'm like, man, shit. Like, if I'm not going to wear them, give them to somebody that will actually wear them. So I'm throwing them out and I'm donating and I'm giving them to the homeless. I'm doing a lot of different stuff. I'm just pretty much getting rid of a lot of the shit that I can't sell. Which is cool, but at the same time, it's wasted money. You know what I mean? And it's when I'm giving all these shirts out and I'm cleaning out my garage and I'm noticing that nobody's buying a lot of the shit that I'm doing, the one thing I keep looking at is the money that's going down the drain. You know what I mean? The lesson learned here is don't invest into so many t-shirts and get ahead of myself. That's what I'm thinking the whole time I'm cleaning out the garage, because I'm finding boxes of t-shirts and I'm like, oh, this was an ill design that I thought was ill, but I couldn't sell it. So I'm just thinking like, fuck, like I'm investing a lot of my own money into this stuff, but I'm not recouping any money back. And as a business owner, I'm thinking like, shit, I'm investing all this money and I'm not making it back. Like, not to talk about this or glorify this, but if I was hustling and doing my thing on the street and I invested in some product and I know that product could make me X amount of dollars, and I didn't get that X amount back, I shouldn't be hustling. You know what I mean? So when you apply that same mind frame to t-shirts, it's the same exact business. And I wasn't doing that. I was so caught up in the creative side that I was just like, oh shit, I know how to make t-shirts. These people don't know how to make t-shirts. I got my margins real low. Let me start banging this stuff out. And I just wasted my time. I wasted money. But what I gained from that is just experience. Now I know where to put my money. Now I know not every single thing I design is going to be made for customers. You know what I mean? There has to be some sort of clientele on the other end that's interested in what I'm doing. So I started doing a lot of research. I started looking into a lot of other brands, how they started. And at this time, the internet's there, but it's not what it is today. So I'm reading a lot of different books. I'm doing a lot of different stuff. But I'm still not getting it. I'm not hearing other people's stories. I'm not hearing, the only thing I'm hearing and seeing is the success story, not how they got started or how they, the mistakes they made. I never got that information. You know what I mean? Because I would have saved myself a lot of money and a lot of time if I heard a story on how not to start a business. Because then I'd be like, shit, that's the way I thought I was supposed to, but let me not do that shit. So for myself, it was just make mistakes, learn from it, make mistakes, learn from it, and so on and so on. And I'm still doing the shit today, but it's just a little bit more refined. You know what I mean? So I'm doing the research and I'm figuring the shit out. I clear out my garage. I kept some of the shirts, a lot of the Nonstop shirts, my logo tees I kept because at the time I'm still rapping, I'm doing my thing. I could throw the shirts out, on stage, and I found creative ways to use it. You know what I mean? But one of the most creative ways for myself was a lot of the t-shirts that I gave to the homeless was they were walking around wearing my shirt and they didn't care about what it said. It was just a new shirt and it was for them. So now they're rocking it. We had a lot of homeless in my area at that time and they're all walking around wearing my t-shirt designs. It was cool. But at the same time, I figured out what I was doing wrong. And it was just, I was oversaturating and just flooding my own market. Like I was getting in my own way, if that makes sense. I'm designing, putting it out, designing, putting it out, designing, putting it out. There was no structure there. You know what I mean? So in order for myself to think about how I was going to make money, it was pretty much focus on the customer and then design for the customer. I had to take it back and think about the Island Made Cali Ray shirts, why it worked, why I made money, and why I wasn't making money now. All it was that group of people that I was designing for, who I made that shirt for, I went to them. I went to the festival where I knew they would be, and I knew that they were there to buy shit. You know what I mean? When you know this information, it makes it a lot easier. So when I tell you guys, like, find your target market, your target audience, go to the customer, utilize hashtags, all this shit, I'm saying this because back then I didn't have hashtags to do. It was physically going to where I was going to be. So, like, say if I was going to make t-shirts for lowriders, you know what I mean? I would hit Crenshaw, or I would go to these lowrider events with my cousin. Shout out to my cousin Justin. I would go to these events with him and I would see what they were wearing, what they were doing, what they were talking about. This is how myself figured out a lot of this shit, was knowing their slang, knowing the terminology, knowing what they liked and didn't like. So I understood the customer. And I spent more time doing that and researching people than I actually did designing and figuring out, you know, running the business. I was just doing market research, but I just didn't know it was called market research at that time. You know what I mean? It was, my cousin said, hey, I'm going to be going over here. I'm going to be doing this. I said, all right, cool. I'll go with you. Or he would tell me about it. And then I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, all right, they're into this. They're talking about this. And this is what they're into. You know what I mean? Then I'm learning all this different stuff. G-bodies. I'm learning about what chipping is. I'm learning about all this stuff that this world knows. And it's just information that's helping me. So if I ever wanted to make a t-shirt for some lowriders, I can make a t-shirt that says no chipping. Obviously, it's been done by now. But back then, not too many t-shirts were being made. And I could have made a ton of money. You know what I mean? So when you look for the target audience, and I know everybody wants to sell something to everybody. Like, that's obviously, that was my goal back then. That's everybody's goal when they start out, is I want to make a streetwear brand. I want to sell it to the world, and I want to be rich and famous. Cool. But when you do the research and you know the customer you want to sell to, it makes a world of a difference, because now you're actually catering to the customer to make something for them. You know what I mean? So that was my problem from the beginning, was I didn't do that. I just wanted to sell to everybody like everybody else. I just wanted to make clothes and I wanted to sell them. So what, in my market research time, what I was doing was figuring out why the brand name Nonstop wasn't working. The first thing that clicked on my head when I was thinking, like, my homeboys rap, how come they're not rocking my clothes? It's because nobody wants to fucking wear, if your rap name isn't Nonstop, why are you going to wear somebody else's rap name on your shirt? That didn't click in my head until after. I was like, oh, fuck, no wonder the homies don't want to support this shit, because they don't want to be on stage wearing my fucking name. They'd rather have a shirt that said their own name. That's when the light bulb went off. I shut down Nonstop Clothing. I said, fuck that. Nonstop Clothing ain't happening. Creating the brand isn't gonna make me rich and famous. What I needed to do was focus on creating merch for everybody else. And that's exactly what I did. I shut down Nonstop Clothing, and now I'm telling other rappers, let me make some shirts for you that you can hand out at shows, throw them out to the crowd, make your own merch in-house. And I did this across the board for CD inserts, like your mixtape covers. I was doing mixtape covers because I understood the printing process. I knew graphic design by now because I'm doing shit in Photoshop and I'm learning stuff. So I'm creating mixtape covers and I'm creating t-shirts for their merch. And now I'm treating all the local rappers as full-blown artists that are worldwide, because now they have merch and now they have full-color CD inserts. So their mixtapes look dope. And I was fucking killing it. This was the business that I wanted early on. I just didn't know how to package it up and tell the customer what it was. But all I was doing was selling them on, I could create your fucking, your CD insert. I could create the merch. I could create a logo for you, put it on a t-shirt. At this time, the only way to get your, name on a t-shirt was go to the swap meet and you get it heat pressed with vinyl. At the time, I didn't know what vinyl was and I didn't care for vinyl, because I was screen printing. Like, I was like, man, fuck that. This is how the big companies are doing it. This is how the fuck I'm doing it. So I'm telling people 24 t-shirts. Now my t-shirt price is low as fuck. Like, it's at, I think I was getting t-shirts for like $1.50, $1.25 at this time, because I had created relationships with all these wholesalers and distributors in downtown LA in the fashion district that I was getting them for dirt cheap. So my prices were really low, so I could sell them on like, it'll be $10 a shirt. You know what I mean? It'll be $8 a shirt. I'm making money. I'm staying busy. They're getting their t-shirts at what they think is a dope price because not a lot of people are doing it. And that's my business from that point, is creating t-shirts. I could still design. I could still do shit. I'm not selling nothing retail, but I'm bringing in fucking money off of the equipment that I have in my garage. So this right here was the game changer for myself. Light bulb going off. The light bulb was, no rapper wants to wear another rapper's name on a t-shirt and go on stage or be in a music video or whatever it is. But if I sold them on their own fucking name or their own crew or whatever it was and put it together at a really cost-effective price, they couldn't say no. And that's exactly what happened. I offered them something that they couldn't get at a price that they couldn't turn down. In return, they spread the word for me. They told everybody. Now my MySpace says, let me make merch for you. Let me make CD inserts that look like this. Let me make you t-shirts that look like this for yourself. Your name here, that's pretty much what the picture had was, let me create a logo for you. Let me print you 24 t-shirts in random sizes. Let me make some CD inserts for your new mixtape. Oh shit, you're about to do a show? You need some shirts for that show? Here's this. You sell it for retail, I'm going to sell it to you wholesale. And my production cost, like I said, was like $8 to $10 a t-shirt, 24 t-shirts. You do the math. When it only cost me $1 something for that shirt, it was a fucking easy come up. I'm talking about like this shit got me to stop hustling. Like I was making so much money off of every rapper that was coming around locally, and I'm making shirts for them and I'm making their mixtape covers for them. It was a done deal. It was a fucking done deal. And that right there is what got me to stop hustling. But at the same time, I was making a ton of fucking money at this time because every rapper wanted their own name on their shirt. Like I knew, like I was a rapper and I wanted the same shit. You know what I mean? But now I could offer it to everybody else. I'm going to cut this shit right here. I appreciate you guys for fucking with the podcast. I really appreciate you guys, you know, when you thumbs up the shit and comment and all this stuff. I try to go back and forth with everybody and answer all the comments. So if you have questions about anything I said in this motherfucker, make sure you leave this shit in the comments and I'll go back and forth with you. If you wanted to check this shit out on SoundCloud, go for it. Link is going to be in the description. And pretty much fuck with me. You know what I mean? This shit's been cool. I really appreciate the feedback and the love I've been getting, man. So appreciate you guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one.